features suggested she was Sundanese, the most prevalent ethnicity in Bandung, and West Java for that matter. Sundanese were often said by Indonesians to be the most attractive people in their country. Hard to argue, though Noonan had to admit he hadn't seen many ugly girls since he and his bosses had arrived in Jakarta for the computer gaming trade show 5 days earlier. Bandung was even better. And worse, but mostly better. Blue eyes and straw accents in the girl's dark hair suggested she had more than a few Dutch branches in her family tree, a remnant from Dutch East India plantations that had raised tea and cinchona, from which quinine was still derived. A skin-tight fire engine red dress had a heart-shaped neckline below her collarbones. The sultry fist-sized swell of visible cleavage provided a sexy counterpoint to the nervous way she curled the toes of one dainty foot and dangled a shoe off the end of the other. Noonan scooted forward on the deep cushions to take his third dirty martini of the evening from the waiter. He held the glass up toward the girl. Dangerous stuff, those air toasts. There was always a chance she was looking at someone or something behind him. Noonan held his breath until her smallish mouth blossomed into a petite smile, and she returned the gesture with her own drink. Fruit juice, from the looks of it. That wasn't surprising, since most Sundanese were Muslim. He wondered if her piety would keep her from hooking up with a guy at a bar. Maybe she was just here to meet a friend. He was about to find out. She was up, padding across the floral carpet toward him, red dress so tight across her belly he could see the depression of her navel against the fabric. The nervousness was gone now. Her steps were confident, though not haughty, like she knew she was attractive, but didn't plan to use it as a weapon. Noonan shot a glance over his shoulder, just to be sure. He didn't want to look the fool if he stood up to greet her and she walked past him to talk to some girlfriend she'd seen across the bar. There was no one, a fact that shot a surge of adrenaline from the top of Jeff Noonan's head to the tips of his toes. This might actually work out. Noonan was self-aware enough to know he was probably a borderline 6. The girls at work called him the poison dwarf, which wasn't fair because 5'7" wasn't really all that short. He suspected it had more to do with the kind of jokes he told in the break room. He stood when the woman was halfway there, working extra hard to keep from wallowing to his feet from the oversized couch. This one was a solid 7, a little square-hipped for Noonan's taste, and she didn't have as much up top as he normally liked, but yeah, she was a 7 for sure. A 7, hooking up with a 6. That could work. Plus, he was an American. Worth a point, right? Maybe she just wanted a free drink while she practiced her English, but even that would be better than sitting alone in a bar after the day he'd had. His gut churned with something far more pleasurable than guilt. 2 weeks before, Jeff Noonan had been a brilliant, if somewhat creepy, software engineer at Parnassus Games in Boston, content to gamble online and maybe sneak over to a strip club near Boston Common while his wife was at her maternity checkups. He wasn't exactly a man overflowing with scruples, but up until recently, he'd never considered selling out his company to the highest bidder. Todd Ackerman changed everything when he broke both his legs in a bicycling accident. Ackerman was supposed to have been the one to attend the Jakarta Tech Conference, but with his injuries, that duty had fallen to Noonan. They had developed several pieces of tech together, tech that got them noticed by the bosses. The two software engineers were antipodal in virtually everything but their knowledge of computer gaming. Ackerman had been a college baseball star. Noonan was still the last picked for every team, sport or not. Ackerman liked conferences in faraway lands. Strange food gave Noonan the runs. Crowds made him feel like someone had a pillow over his face. Ackerman was Canadian, stereotypically agreeable, and smiled more than a normal person should smile. The bosses liked to spend time with him, have drinks, play golf. They tolerated Noonan because of his brilliance. If they'd suspected either...